Broadcasting live from the Trichomes.com studios in Southern California. It's time for your Morning Buzz. We bring you late-breaking news that keeps you up to date with what's happening in the cannabis industry.
All right. Happy Wednesday morning. Good to see all you out in the audience here. It is April 27th, and these are your top cannabis news headlines from around the world. Biden takes his first actions on clemency with 3 pardons and commutes 75 more. Next up is states with legal marijuana have less impaired driving, study finds. And the third one is something that we talked about in yesterday's, not yesterday, but the day before's buzz was Operation Hammer Strike here in San Bernardino, weeks 33 and 34. Deputies served 47 search warrants, seizing nearly 60,000 plants. Those are the headlines, and we'll get right into the stories. So, again, before we jump into that real quick, I want to say thanks to everybody who joins us early in the morning here. It's about 7:35 here on the West Coast. You can see behind me, the 91's got a bit of a traffic jam going on. But yeah, just want to say thank you to everybody who joins, and make sure to like, subscribe, and share, because it really helps other people find us as we talk about cannabis and we talk about the community here. And thank you very much again for joining. So, and there's Danny Tomlin. Oh yeah, first, good to see you too. Glad you made it on time. Well, Michael Payton, you didn't catch the headlines. We're going to get right into them right now. So the first thing is Biden takes his first actions on clemency with 3 pardons and 75 commutations. It's President Biden taking his first action on clemency since he entered the White House, pardoning 3 people and shortening the prison terms of 75 more on Tuesday. The White House officials say the president thinks too many people, many of them black and brown, are serving unduly long sentences for drug crimes. The pardons and commutations are part of a broader White House effort to make criminal justice system more fair, which is a key goal of Biden's 2020 presidential campaign. Let's see. Biden pardoned Abraham Bolden, the first black Secret Service agent to serve on a presidential detail. Bolden has always maintained his innocence, arguing he was targeted for exposing racism and unprofessional behavior. Bolden was shocked but appreciative that he received a phone call this morning. So I'm not sure what that has to do with cannabis. Let's see. Rachel Barkow said, "Better late than never, though this is such a low-hanging clemency fruit that it's practically on the ground. Most of these people were already released by Bill Barr under the under the CARES Act. All CARES Act folks are easy clemency grants, so I'm a little worried we're just seeing a subset." Let's see. So we'll get into that, but really, we posted on our TikTok and YouTube. Is this something of a political pandering, or is this something that we're looking at that is the beginning of the process of decriminalization and legalization? I'm going to have to go with the former. There is it looks like it's a little bit of political pandering, trying to get us off of his back based upon what's been in the news and that kind of stuff recently. So we'll get back into that in a second. The next title is states with legal marijuana have less impaired driving, study finds. And this comes from a new study. The analysis of self-reported driving under the influence of cannabis, DUIC, found that people are less likely to drive within 3 hours of consuming marijuana in states that have legalized for medical or recreational use compared to non-legal states. Let's see here. Researchers said that while there does appear to be an exception with respect to medical cannabis patients who report frequent use, whose behavior did not differ significantly from frequent users living in a state without legal marijuana, the broader takeaway is that prohibition states are generally more likely to have impaired drivers on the road. The risk of self-reported DUIC was lower in recreational and medical states than compared to states without legal cannabis. You have to look into the sources of this, but let's see. The authors wrote the risk of self-reported. Well, I just read that part. Current cannabis users in recreational and medical only states were significantly less likely to report driving within 3 hours of getting high in the past 30 days compared to current users living in states without legal cannabis. Uh, yeah, let's see. This is this is all based upon this is done at Marijuana Moment, and this is based upon um, self-reporting and that kind of thing. So what they're saying here is that because of regulation in cannabis products in non-legal environments is not possible, mass media campaigns may be a good option by providing education about DUIC. Although states should educate its citizen about potential dangers of using cannabis in driving, this analysis suggests that states without legal cannabis are particularly in need of DUIC prevention efforts. The study's key limitation is that it's based on self-reported DUIC, but the results still run counter to both prohibitionist argument against legalization and a federal recommendation where public awareness campaigns would be targeted amid the reform movement. So we'll get back into that. I definitely want to hear everybody's thoughts on where we're at, what you guys think about the self-reporting DUI and that kind of thing. And that brings us to the third story, and it was something that we talked about within the legal cannabis market and the offsetting within this illicit market and what's driving the prices down and doing that kind of thing. And I was talking to you guys a little bit about the illegal operations. We were talking about home grow versus versus people taking advantage of the different laws and that kind of thing. So let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and go over this. I'm sorry, I'm jumping on the app. We got some people in the comments. But let's see. Operation Hammer Strike, week 33 and 34. Deputies served 47 warrants, seizing nearly 60,000 plants. And the source is San Bernardino County Sheriff's. The summary is that between April 11th, 2022 and April 24th, investigators from the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department Marijuana Enforcement Team, MET, along with San Bernardino County Sheriff's deputies from several different patrol stations, served 47 warrants at various locations in Adelanto, Apple Valley, Oak Hills, Hesperia, Lucerne Valley, Phelan, Victorville, Redlands, Newberry Springs, Pomona, and Hinkley. Over the past 2 weeks, San Bernardino sheriffs personnel located and arrested 33 suspects. Investigators seized 59,724 plants, 2,200 pounds of processed marijuana, 6 guns, and over 131,000 in cash. A total of 257 greenhouses were found at these locations and eradicated, as well as 8 indoor locations. Investigators mitigated 2 electrical bypasses and recovered 1 stolen vehicle. Let's see. The sheriffs, what the investigation revealed was that the cannabis cultivations were not in compliance with California's medical and adult use cannabis regulation and safety act, which is MCRSA, and San Bernardino County's ordinance prohibiting commercial cannabis activity. The suspects were cited or booked on charges of cultivation of cannabis, over 6 plants, possession for sales of marijuana, illegal water discharge, manufacturing a controlled substance, utility theft, possession of stolen property, and conspiracy. And that pretty much wraps up that story as to where, again, the investigation shows that you guys obviously weren't in compliance, right? But within that, they still aren't getting prosecuted. I mean, it's being noted that they're growing cannabis in these areas, but essentially the cannabis charge alone doesn't carry a big enough charge to put these guys away and take that illegal cannabis out of the market. So what the home grow is fighting, right? The personal home grow is fighting operations like this, because essentially what the politicians are going at incorrectly is trying to trying to get away from cannabis that is produced outside of the legal boundaries and that kind of thing. And realistically, it's not the home grow they have to worry about. So it's realistically it's organized crime. It's people who use cannabis as a currency, and that, again, is to um, you know is used to fuel the different fires. And we've got these different brands that are fighting this right now. And realistically, the the point to this chat and what we were talking about is that people in the chat and people in different states, really, they want to be able to have the home grow. And the biggest thing that's basically holding this up is the feds or the local municipalities thinking that home grows are all going to turn into these types of illegal operations. So let's see here. I'm going to get into the comments real quick. Uh, Ian Mall from the Trichomes app wanted to say hello. Thanks for joining and say what's up. Danny Tomlin, Michael Payton Sr. over here. Steve Woods, good morning. Hey Philip, good to see you. Good morning over there in Texas. I saw that Laura Camp is here as well. Howdy from Texas. Um, when it boils down to it, is yeah, things are moving forward, and there's a lot of people um, who think that this shouldn't be regulated in the first place, and that's, there's an argument for that. But again, without regulation, this legal market and the people being prosecuted and persecuted in it are going to be facing the same things. And realistically, it's just one of those there's one of those tough things that without regulation, we still stand to be persecuted and prosecuted. Let's see, Little Mac 86. One of the many reasons home growing should be legal is so few folks who are new can hire an electrician without fear to ensure that they don't start an electrical fire from overload. I gonna have to agree with you on that one. Is really way back when California was still going through this phase of medical marijuana prior to legal marijuana, is that I had a friend even that he was growing in his garage, and they didn't catch on to it in any fashion legally, but one of his roommates was suspected of having an accident and driving over a cliff, which actually didn't happen. They later found him. We were grieving for somebody for a while, but in the process, they did a wellness check and they kicked down the door and they found these plants. And long and short, the fire department shows up, and the wellness check was done by the fire department, who called in the police. The police came in and started, took my friend away and took him to jail. And the fire chief was basically just lambasting his crew for whoever made the call to the police, because of the fact that the people, people who grow and people who, like you said, Mac 86, is that Little Mac, is that the public should rely on the fire department for their safety. And if you can't call the fire department when you have a fire, who are you going to call? You're gonna just let the house burn? You're gonna let the neighbors go down with it? And long and short, it's one of those things that yeah, you're right, is part of the home grow, part of the situation is getting it out in public so that people don't have to hide it and or run the risk of doing things in a less than professional manner, and put themselves and their neighbors at risk. So that's a great point for sure. Let's see here. So let's see. All right. Rita Kim, good morning. Thanks for joining us from the Trichomes app over there. Good to see you. Let's see. That's. I'll wait for a couple comments to come in. After Monday's discussion, I know that a lot of people were in the chat, and seeds and breeding, and qualified breeders was one of the things that people wanted to talk about. So when it comes down to home grow, and the laws surrounding that, That's going to be on a state specific deal. But when on a general level, for all those wanting to do home grow, whether in a legal state or not, uh, it's genetics, seed quality, all that kind of stuff is an important thing. So what we were talking about on Monday's discussion was that, you know, there's a lot of scammers out there, and because of the space that we're in within cannabis, and how much attention it's gotten, that kind of thing, you've got a lot of people who are taking advantage of us, of people looking to build something in cannabis, whether it's seeds, clones, this kind of thing. There's a lot of people out there misrepresenting themselves, and rather than try to point all those people out, I think what the best thing to do is get a couple experts in here. Maybe I can have them join on a call, or maybe even join me here, um, live in the studio, where we can talk about some of the more reputable seed breeders and some of the more reputable companies when it comes to that, and how you can get to them, and where it's legal to do that, and how it's legal to do that. Because as someone brought up, you know, the difference between hemp seeds and marijuana seeds has just been said that on a federal level, there's no discernment. As long as there's under 0.03% THC in that seed, just as what qualifies anything for hemp, then at that juncture, it is seen as a hemp deal. Um, hey, Henry. Hey, Henry. I'm going to slaughter this. Oh, geez. Puget? Puget? I'm so sorry. Henry from the southwest of France, thank you for joining in. Do you think they will legalize in the US federally in 2022? I would say, and I've shared my opinion here before, that 2022 we're not looking at anything but hopes for decriminalization, and that seems to be getting further and further away. Long and the short is that this administration, even though one of the headlines today was talking about clemency and or commutations and that type of thing, it was really such a small step. And as we read on the first headline, the first person was a former Secret Service agent. It had nothing to do with cannabis. He's getting into these commutations, but it's one of those things that it's it might be a show out for people who are asking, well, what is he doing about this? Because he ran so hard on decriminalization and getting the people who deserve to be out of prison out of prison. So, Henry, when it comes down to it, I do not believe that we will legalize here in 2022. I think it won't happen. Legalization in general won't happen during this administration. It's my hopes that decriminalization happens and the rescheduling happens here during this administration, but you can tell that it's not at the forefront of their agenda. There's a lot of other things going on, as always in politics. Cannabis has always been kind of on a low rung, but this allows for the next political group coming in, the next election, to have this as a running ticket, right? So it's something that's going to be an issue during the next big major elections come 2024. If this doesn't get done, someone with the promise of getting it done is going to be running. Let's see. Oh, nice. So yeah, your mom is American and she studied at URI. Great grandma was also born in Retham, Mass. Nice. So you got ties here. That's awesome. And yeah, I would hope that things are going to move forward here, but really, the states' rights, people being able to garner it on a medical level in the holdout states is one of the things that we're hoping for. But really, it's going to be a states' rights issue for at least the next 2 to 3 years, in my opinion. Let's see here. Hey, you know, Texas, Kingfish Phillip, I see something else out in Texas there. And really, I just saw an article where another county in Texas thinks they got enough votes to put another local decriminalization on the ballot. And let's see, activists in Denton, Texas say they're confident that they've collected enough signatures to place marijuana decriminalization initiative on the local ballot. So Texas is, you know, it's inching along. You've got a few of these municipalities, such as we talked about Austin, which is the the capital, obviously, of Texas, they're putting in something to decriminalize and to not allow for no-knock warrants. And they're also, there's this dent in going on, and there's a couple other counties that are trying to vote it in despite the state's efforts to remain illegal and to not have it decriminalized. So it looks like, regardless of the people who are running the state, you're starting to get local efforts that are saying, you know what, we're tired of this, and we're going to enact some of our own policies, of which is the beginning of what's going to happen in Texas. So, very cautiously optimistic, as they say, because Texas is Texas and they've been a holdout for so long, but cautiously optimistic about Texas and seeing what's going on. Plus, Elon just moved his major gig factory there, and he likes to smoke weed. Uh, so we'll have to see here, but I think Texas is going to be on it. DRS metal. It's stupid that all states could legalize it, but it's still Schedule 1. It makes no sense. Absolutely. Right now, we have so many states that have adopted it on a recreational level and a medical level that it's, again, there's constitutional things put in place of which I don't know enough about that should be being invoked right now, and basically the states are speaking, right, and the majority of the states have spoken, and the majority of the population wants medical cannabis for their friends and neighbors, if not themselves. So what's taking so long? It's really, it's infuriating, actually. DRS metal doesn't make any sense. Let's see. Danny Tomlin, yeah, the KY governor is working on pushing the Senate in voting. Hope it works. We are going to go ahead and we'll give you an update on Kentucky. We'll have something for that next week, but pretty sure we've just been kind of in the back and forth with that. Let's see. Yeah. So what does everybody think about Biden's pardoning? Do you think that this is a political placating move, as to where essentially they, around 420 and around all this stuff, they were getting so many questions about what are you doing? And literally at press conferences, people are talking about marijuana prisoners. They're talking about the getting rid of the word marijuana. All this stuff is happening right now during his presidency, and realistically, they have been pushing it off, kicking the can, and saying they're going to get around to it. Hey, check out this what we're doing with the research bills, with the DEA, and what we're expanding to. But really, when it comes down to releasing people, the people who he said were marginalized and deserve a break, is this a big enough step, or do you think this is something that he's done to just placate us and to say, hey, you know what, it's here's what you get? While we're waiting for some insights to that, I see Wicked Smart said, keep hearing rumors about North Carolina making D8 illegal. Have you heard anything about that? D8 in North Carolina, I'm not sure here. I can take a look at that, and actually I'll write it down and see if we can't come up with something for tomorrow there, just because it would take me a little bit of time to look that up. D8. But I'll come back to you with that answer tomorrow. So DRS Metal, big pharma lobbyists are holding back the politicians 100%. This is 100%. Special interest groups have really always been one of the biggest mitigating factors here, of which we can't control. The people who have the money as of now, who don't want to lose control of the money. And when that comes down to pharmaceuticals and different textile things and everything that you can and can't think of when it comes down to what hemp can displace as anything from a fuel to a textile, and then cannabis in general as a antidotal medicine as of right now, displacing a lot of alcohol use and a lot of different types of consumption. But realistically, once the research happens, what extracted from this plant is going to replace or be better than some of the current big pharmaceutical big pharmaceutical products and that kind of thing. What are we going to replace? And technically, I think they're fearful of losing billions of dollars, and that's what they're fighting so hard against, and why they've been fighting so hard. All right, Henry from France. I survived 7 strokes in 2013. Jesus. And if it wasn't for the weed I grow, I couldn't heal my chronic pains. Had to take 25 morphine pills per day for 2 years. It's my medicine, inspiration, and fun. You know, there's a lot of people along the way, and whether it's from 7 strokes, which is Jesus, glad you're still around. Holy moly, that's a lot, and an outstanding number, and crazy way. And I'm glad you're still here. But as it comes down to people like yourself, people who are wheelchair bound, people who have chronic back pain, are going through chemotherapy, or going through different things as to where their quality of life is impeded by what they're going through. Cannabis has shown mercy to a lot of these people. People find solace when smoking and consuming cannabis. And while a doctor is never going to say, smoke your medicine, um, we found ways to extract it. We found ways to put it in brownies. We found ways to consume it that it doesn't necessarily need to be smoked. And now it's time to take away the misnomers and the false information about it just being bad for you, and let people who choose this know the right thing about it. And that's really what we're trying to do on both a political level and then on a science level. We work with scientists. We work with people who are really dedicated to finding out the next truths about cannabis, right, wrong, or indifferent, good, bad, or ugly. When it comes down to it, we as a group of people, we as consumers, deserve to know what we're ingesting and what the actual downfalls, pitfalls, and benefits may be. Because right now, we know the devil's lettuce misnomers and and basically all the bullshit we grew up on, and all the marijuana madness is just madness. And now it's time to get to where we can have some uh have some credit given to our cognitive dissonance, right? It's something that we were taught and we learned, and then as we went through this on our own personal levels with cannabis, for whatever reasons we started consuming, for whatever purposes we consume for, we we embarked on this and chose cannabis, right? And that's it. It's one of those things that we deserve to know that it's not everything that we thought it was or were told it was in the beginning of this. And learning what this cannabis plant does, and learning to explain it to our neighbors, explain it to the people that could benefit from it without the madness attached to it is the biggest part of this. Creating a narrative of which other people can understand, and it brings them to something that can better their life. Because I know that everybody here in the comments believes that one way or another. Danny Tomlin, you even prefer smoking, as do many people, including myself. There's something to that initial carcinogenic buzz of which kind of puts it right away. But as a former cigarette smoker, I found out that I was kind of addicted to that. So I'm trying to go to a little bit more of a clean inhalation, whether it be vape or um, actual, like a vape pen where you're putting the concentrates in and trying to vaporize it and doing that kind of thing. But I prefer smoking as well. It's also one of the things that gets to you quickest. If you're sitting around waiting on an edible to kick in, you might eat a few more edibles and then have a bad experience. So when it comes down to it, yeah, it's something that we should know more about as people. We should be able to sink our teeth into um, research that is viable and relevant to what we're. Um, that's funny. Cookies. That's a good one. But let's see. That's cookies out here in the comments is somebody who thinks that there's no There are no benefits from the drug unless you are falling apart and on your deathbed. And truth be told, I don't agree with your comment there. And I know there's a lot of people in the comments that don't agree as well. But you know, to each their own. And thanks for stopping by and shedding your opinion. We know there's a lot of you out there. But thank you very much. And yeah, anyway, so we're about at the end of this. It's been about a half hour. We've gone over the topics, and we've got this special discussion coming up when we're going to be talking about seeds and breeders. Again, hey, if it's your first time to the channel, please like and subscribe and share. It helps other people who want to be a part of this conversation find the conversation, of which, you know, it's at the top of the forefront, and really about it's about making sure that the people who are part of this fight get to know what's going on in it, and are here and relevant to this next portion, which has to do with these midterm elections on a local level, and it has to do with these big elections coming up in 2024 and whoever's going to be running this country thereafter. So again, I thank you for joining. Thanks for being part of the conversation. I'm going to go ahead and sign out for now, but I'll be in tomorrow at 7:35, and I hope to catch you all at the morning buzz. Thanks a lot. Talk to you soon.